So Bella graduated in 2018. Her work in the final year of university was very personal and very beautiful. Its presentation caught the eye, both at Barrow Ashton and at Free Range. And I think her excellence in visual communication is mirrored by her ability to communicate verbally. And it's her people skills and organisation that have led to her current career as a photographer's agent. While she was at Bauer, Bella did some work experience at the Parr Foundation and also worked for Victoria Forrest, the book designer. When she graduated, she interned at Sarah Laird and Good Company for 6 months. 6 months? Yeah, 6 months. Before starting work at Siobhan Squire as a junior agent and producer. She currently works at Making Pictures as a photographer's agent. I'm going to shut up and introduce Bella Phillips.
Hi, yeah, I'm Bella. As Tim said, graduated 2018. Now living in London as a photographer's agent, which I've been doing for like best part of 3 years, and it's still so cool to say. But yeah, I probably will start by just sharing my work, which was a very strange road to go down because all of my prints that I did for the final show actually got stolen, which I laugh about now. But they got stolen when I moved to London, when I was moving into my new house by some horrible person. So they got stolen, and the work is now just digital and now being kind of not making work anymore. They just kind of ended up in the deep dark areas of my computer. So digging them out the other day was kind of strange but really fun, and I was thinking, God, I just would not shoot anything like that now. So it's just really interesting seeing adjustments. But yeah, I will share now. I use Zoom every day for my work and I'm still rubbish on it. How do I share screen? There you go. Cool. So Bella, yeah, Making Pictures is the place I'm at now. This is an image by Dan Bunforty, who's one of my photographers that I rep. This is also him. Where do I go next? Oops. Yeah, so my third year work final project was, actually, I'm going to go back. In second year, I was really lucky to do an Erasmus trip to Barcelona. Traveling, obviously, to most people now feels like a distant memory, but it did happen. I was there for the first term of uni, second term, I can't remember now, February to July. And when I was out there, I kind of started to think about what I wanted to do, next stages. Third year, God, uni's coming to an end. What am I going to do with myself? And between a few conversations between various people and the wonderful Sean Sobers, I was introduced to a photographer's agent, which I had no idea even what that was, if it was even a thing. And the best way to describe it to people now who aren't in the industry is it's like a band manager, but for photographers. And they'll go, yeah, cool. So whilst I was out there, I started researching more around the role and what it is. And I realized my favorite things were talking to people, meeting people, but talking about photography. And that role is basically my favorite things in one. So I started reaching out to some agencies in Barcelona and just kind of finding out more about, what they do and where I would fit in. Then I came back to uni, came back to Bristol to do my third year. Was really struggling to think what I wanted to produce, was going here, there and everywhere about different ideas and nothing's really landing. And then I hit a bit of a moment in my life where I fell pregnant and didn't obviously want to kind of carry on. So I had an abortion, which completely kind of threw my whole life upside down, especially in third year and everything. I remember it was a few days before dissertation hand-in, so that was really helpful. And I realized the reason I wasn't making any good work is because it was nothing that I cared about enough. So this kind of problem that I experienced, this emotional journey, I could put all of my energy from that into making work. So I photographed myself, my surroundings, but also interviewed some friends and other people who had also gone through the same experience, and took images of them and their surroundings. So these were some of the final pieces that I put in exhibition. They all kind of ran alongside interviews, and I just tried to pick up on specific bits of each person and their story, and each story was so individual. I wanted to kind of harness that in each image, and kind of take pictures of these sacred spaces, you know, that people found comfort in. This is me in front of my exhibition at Bauer. So I ended up kind of doing a big little jazz hang of all the kind of final pictures from each of the women that I photographed. Whilst I'm still on top of third year, I also, whilst I knew, okay, right, I wanted to be an agent, what do I need to do? How do I need to get there? I obviously had the professional practice module running alongside of the final work. So that really gave me the time to research and contact and network. And I basically spoke to anyone and everyone that had any link to working in the photography industry, whether they're a producer or a set designer or an art director or creative in an ad agency, or, you know, whatever the area was. I tried to just kind of find out what it was and what I needed to do. So putting the time in third year into really researching what I wanted really put me in a good space when I graduated, because, well, for a number of reasons, but actually when we took this show to the Truman Brewery in London to do our exhibition, on the day that we were putting the show up, I also had a job interview for my first internship, which was at Sarah Laird. I remember thinking, oh my God, how the hell am I gonna get from there all the way back to here in this city I barely even know, and be prepared for the interview, but also be prepared for the show, and how am I gonna do it without anyone noticing? It was really stressful, but totally worth it, because I got the internship. And when we graduated in July, which was a Friday, I moved to London Saturday morning and I started work on Monday. So I went straight into working straight from uni, which, you know, in hindsight has so many benefits, and also, you know, some downfalls. I would have loved to just hang around in Bristol a bit more with my friends and kind of enjoy a bit of a break. But it meant I just had that momentum from uni and researching, just had the drive, and I just wanted to go. I knew I wanted to be there. I knew I wanted to be in London. I knew the role I wanted to do. So I just went and did it, which is pretty cool. Shall I stop sharing? Because I'm not going to show any more work for a little bit more.
Sure.
Or you,
oh,
yeah,
whatever.
You can see my face. So yeah, so I can't really emphasize how important the researching and the professional practice was for me, and the just constant conversations with anyone. So I spoke to, you know, my friend's mum, and she put me in touch with somebody, and just never, ever, ever be worried or scared about contacting anyone, because the worst thing they can do is either just not reply or just say no. And the best thing that can happen is they put you in touch with people. And it was just chance that I spoke to somebody who knew somebody who was friends with somebody who was looking for an intern, and I wouldn't have never got down that path. They weren't advertising it anywhere. It was just kind of through grafting. Where am I? So yeah, let me know if you need me to go into more detail, slow down, whatever. So interning as a junior agent producer was amazing. They paid me, which was really good. So I was living in a little sublet place in Hackney, and I just felt like all my dreams had come true. And I basically just worked on everything from the website of photographers to helping out on production of shoots, so arranging, things like travel and assistance. And I remember going to a dog casting, which was awesome, to, portfolios. And my favorite thing, which still is my favorite thing, is to go to meetings to people in the industry. So we would take the books to people in advertising agencies and editorial companies, design companies, and we basically just share our artists' work with them. So that was an amazing kind of insight to the industry, and the agent that I kind of worked with there, I'm still very good friends with, and we're always in touch. And when my internship there came to an end, after 6 months, they helped me kind of get my next job. So that was then kind of one step up, and then I could now become a junior with Siobhan Squire.
Bella, can I just ask you something before
Yes.
you go into the Siobhan Squire story?
Yeah.
And it's just based on where are you from, by the way?
I'm from Rugby in the Midlands, so it's
Okay.
like Coventry.
Yeah. So I just wanted to ask, because a lot of people will be thinking, because the previous people this morning, they're all London based, and quite often people are coming from small towns and to Bristol, and that's a biggest jump. And then to go to London is obviously it's an even bigger jump. Was it something that you found to be easy? Did you know people in London? Was it a bit frightening? How did you feel about it?
I was just really, really, really excited. I remember just walking around being like, fuck, I live here. This is so cool. But yeah, daunting. My life was in Bristol. All my best friends were in Bristol. I was so happy there. I'd completely grown into my authentic self there. So it was very scary to leave that behind. But I always knew if things didn't work in London, I could go back, and it was always going to be a safe place for me. I'm very lucky that I'm the youngest of four. I've got three big brothers, and they all live in London. I didn't move in with any of them, but I could certainly call on any of them at any problems. So that probably helped. I have a few friends that went to uni here. So I did have a bit of a web of people here that I could, obviously my brother's very close to, and the friends that live here have now just become closer and closer. So I certainly started to lean on people that I wouldn't have been leaning on before. But moving into like a shared house, I made my best friend now. I randomly moved in with her into a house, and we became really good friends. And I remember thinking, how do you make friends? Like all your friends you make are through education, right from nursery to university, and you make friends because you're put in a class together, or you're put in halls together, or and then I thought, oh, how do you just stop people in the street and ask to go for a coffee? And I joke, but I actually did that a few times. Just people that I would get chatting to. I remember going to a house viewing and being like, I don't want the room, but I'd love to hang out. So it's certainly different and daunting. But if you're moving for your passion, that's really and nothing else really bothered me, because I'm quite a friendly person. I'm quite confident, so that I'm lucky to have that naturally. So and also have my brothers here. So I felt like I could do it. But yeah, it is scary. I think just always remember that you can always go home and you can always move, and nothing's forever, and just give it a go. You know, it's not going to be the end of the world if you don't like it. And I've been here for, as I said, best part of 3 years, and every day I still walk outside and think, this is so cool. Like, it's such a huge city with so much going on, and so many possibilities and opportunities and people, and such a diverse place that you just can't get bored. And for me, I need that. I need to be a little fish who just is constantly challenged. So yeah, I hope that's
Fantastic. Yeah, no, that's good. That's great. Yeah. So Siobhan Squire.
Yes. So great internship at Sarah Laird, lovely people. I was opened up to this world of the photography world, but not from, the photographer side. And it was also new to me. And I just thought, like, going to meetings or being at Ubers thinking, God, I'm so grown up. Like, I'm going to talk to people, and people want to listen to me talk. And I just thought it was awesome. So I got to Siobhan Squire, who is a very well-known agent here in London. She's kind of one of the golden oldies. She's been around for years. She's got some very amazing photographers who kind of shot for everybody. But she really put me to my tests. And I think that was the first time that I probably felt, what have I done? Why have I moved here? Like, this isn't for me. And it was the first time that I dealt with kind of a professional hurdle. I think you're quite cradled through education. I mean, Jim obviously is unkind, but, and gives you a hard time, but it's quite nice and comfortable. And then you kind of go into not the real world. Everything's real, but you start having bosses, and realize that there's a lot more scary things going on than I don't know, a review. And I started to learn so much about myself and me as a person, and I always felt like I had two things to learn. I had learning to be an agent, but also learning to be in the professional world. And Bella couldn't just be Bella all the time. She sometimes has to rein it in. She sometimes has to bite her tongue. Not everyone always wants to hear your voice, and I was learning all of these things about me that no one can really prepare you for. That you kind of just have to be thrown in the deep end a little bit, and learn as you go along. And I worked on some amazing jobs with Siobhan, very kind of big production photography jobs for I don't know, VW and Eurostar and some others, but traveled all over, going to these big shoots, and just was really, my eyes really opened up to the money and the efforts that really go into making that tiny little picture of a man you see on a bus stop. It's like there's so many people there, and there's so many factors to it all, and it was mind-blowing. So yeah, I was there kind of helping out on production, which, as I said, is basically travel, basically organizing the shoot. So all the different elements. And then and I was also an agent, which is basically the selling of the artist and the negotiating of fees and things like that. And often most photography agencies, the agents will work as an agent producer, will work on both sides. But some of them are split up, like where I am now. And I think I just learned so much at Siobhan's about what I'm good at. And I thought I was organized, but I'm not organized enough to be a producer, because you have to be really, really, really thorough, and you have to have your fingers in all the pies, and you have to think for so many people and make sure everything is just perfect all the time. And I just couldn't really handle that. But what I was really good at was going out with the photographers and with their books to all sorts of people in the industry and talking about the work and their personal projects. Even when our photographers are shooting these big ad campaigns, making too much money, they are always, most of them anyway, always focusing on their personal work and making time to always shoot personal, because actually when I sell work to people, I'm always just showing personal work. I never show their ads to someone that works in the ad industry. They might ask, how does this translate to an ad? And then I'll show them an example, but personal work is and will always be the drive with whatever you want to do with your photography skill. So I ended up leaving Siobhan's. The role kind of shifted and I was put into a lot of production, and I realized that isn't really what I'm good at. Was unemployed for a few months, which was not that fun. But then I want to make sure I'm staying on track. And now found my role at Making Pictures as solely an agent. So I've been there for over a year now, which is crazy because the majority of it's been in lockdown. I think I had like 3 months or 2.5 months with them in the office, and then we've been in lockdown, which sucks. But I've been working with them, just as an agent, so doing all the selling globally. Every agency, it works very differently, but the way I work now is I have different sectors. So at the moment I'm working on our kind of beauty and fashion clients. So I'm working with our specific beauty and fashion photographers who make getting their work together and putting a nice presentation together to then show with any fashion and beauty people to hopefully get jobs in for them. And the way we work is we'll represent the photographer, and everything will come through us. So we spend all day, every day and nights selling them to people all over the world to get them jobs, and the jobs will come in through us, and we will negotiate their fees, their where it's going to be used, everything like that, to make sure the photographer's happy, we're happy, client's happy. And then we'll also produce the shoot, and we have produced shoots in every continent, and we've actually been shooting all through COVID with very tight restrictions, but we're really lucky we've managed to kind of work with our governing board to make sure we've still been able to do that. I actually have some work I'm going to show you of some of the artists that I rep, and I wanted to show you ads that they do, which is commercial and editorial, and also their personal work, and all of it is shot in lockdown. So yeah, unless you've got any more questions for now, I'll get on to that.
Can I ask a quick question, or a couple of questions?
Yes.
So when you moved from Siobhan Squire to Making Pictures, you say you found the Making Pictures job. Was that something, because I think often with students kind of moving out towards industry, it's that thing about, okay, well, Christ, how do I find these things? How do I find these opportunities? So did you become aware of Making Pictures through your network, or how did you find Making Pictures? That's question one. And then question two was, when you were talking about putting together the books for the individual photographers, what kind of input do you have in terms of the structure and the work that goes into that book? Hello, by the way, how are you?
Hi, Nick. Yeah, I'm really well, actually. Thank you. Would love to go to the pub, but aside from that,
wouldn't we all?
Okay, so actually finding the job, how I found all of my jobs was through networking. Not one of them were advertised, not the internship, not Siobhan's, or Making Pictures. So I got to the internship through kind of that professional practice bit where I was contacting all sorts of agencies and all sorts of industry people. That took me to the internship, and then I grew a really good relationship with the agents there, and they said, we really want to keep you on full time, but we just can't really afford it right now, but we will do everything in our power to get you a job, which was really, really sweet of them. And they did that. So they helped me put my get my CV in a really good place and make sure I was kind of using all the right words to look like I knew what I was talking about. And they helped me contact people in the industry. But actually the Siobhan Squire was actually just, obviously they helped with my CV, but that was just an email that I sent out. And I basically just contacted loads of agencies whose work that I liked, and I liked the artists that they were representing, and just said, this is me, this is what I'm been doing, it would be lovely to just talk to you. I didn't push too much for like, can you give me a job? But I was just happy to have anything from, will you go on the phone to me? Will you meet me for a coffee? Can we just talk about the industry? And I actually met a handful of people from all different shapes and sizes of photography. I think I met about 4 or 5 agents, and some I just met for a coffee. Like I met with Waldo from Morgan Lockyer, which is a big ad agency. I met him just for a coffee and just spoke about the industry. And lots of them, I spoke to someone from View, all sorts, and lots of them were like, we don't really have anything right now, but maybe we keep you on in, we'll stay in contact. And I just kept doing that really, and just because I thought, kind of takes you back to what I said at the beginning, you don't really have anything to lose than just staying connected with people. So when I got so then I found Making Pictures, and they just had a careers email address, and they just said, get in touch if you want to work with us. So I did, and they really liked my email, and they said the thing that really stood out was it was very specific to them. So we actually rep 35 illustration and CGI artists as well. They're separate. We have illustration artists, agents, but we are all in the same team. So I picked an illustrator I really liked and a photographer I really liked, and I picked out campaigns that they both worked on recently and said why I liked them. And my the owners said that they just thought they get emails all day, every day, but one that was very specific to them, they said they could tell that I'd taken the time to really research them, and that's why it stood out.
Did you specifically aim at Making Pictures better? Or was, were you sending the same kind of emails to View and to different agents as well?
Yeah. So I had a really good structure that I got a few people to look at, but then the bits where I was speaking about the artist, I just changed for which agency I was reaching out to, which when you get in a bit of a flow, it's fine because the body is the same. You're just kind of changing one bit, and it's actually quite fun because you just go on a website and look at some nice work and go, oh, that's really cool, and then say, this is really cool, and then so it's actually, once the hard bit is getting your CV in a really tight, lovely place and getting that email in a very in a nice place that you can just kind of amend. But yeah, I was contacting quite a few people, probably quite a lot. But yeah, then I got the job at Making Pictures, and what was really cool is I was actually offered 2 jobs. So I got to pick who I went with, which was really nice for the ego, and made me feel like, people do think I know what I'm talking about.
Cool. So Nick's second question was about the arrangement of the book and your input.
Yeah. So Nick, was it kind of how we put the portfolios together?
Yeah. I guess it's just, I mean, I'm conscious of time, and I don't want to sort of sway you too much from the work you want to talk about. But I guess it was just that relationship that you start to evolve with your photographers, and what then input you have into how you help them to represent themselves, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. I guess kind of like a bit like what is being an agent, I suppose, in a way. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, well, yeah, but equally, as I say, I don't, you don't have to go down into the minutiae. A broad paint with a broad brush.
Okay. I call them my babies, my children, because they can be quite childlike, and they do need their hands held through a lot of things, but that is why I'm here. So we will talk with them daily, or try to at least speak to all of them once a week about everything. And you just grow a really good friendship with them, and what makes them tick, how they operate, but also we work very, very closely with them on their personal projects. So we kind of, I guess, a bit like the tutors do at uni. They bring us work. We say, that's crap, what you're doing, or yes, this is brilliant. We could start pushing you more into the tech world, or we could push you more into fashion, or and they're constantly, and that's what I was saying about the personal stuff being really important at whatever level and stage you are in your career as a photographer, because I've got a photographer who's been around for 10 years, and all of a sudden now he's started doing beauty stuff, and he's never even been thought of as a beauty photographer, but he just did a personal project one day and he's now being sold into that. So we're massively it's very collaborative with the personal work, and when it comes to the portfolios, we put them together and we show the photographers what we've done, and they will always want to change it, but the photographer's view is very different to an agent's view. We're coming from the angle of what will people look at and go, yeah, that will work really well as an ad, or yeah, that will work really well as a editorial piece. Whereas photographers tend to get a bit too fine art, which is beautiful and lovely, but when it comes to portfolios, we're quite strict. So we'll have all of it personal work, and then at the back we tend to do like contact sheets of any ad and editorial things that they've done, so because people like to see how their personal work translates when they get commissioned. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. That's all good. That's all. I mean, maybe it might. Yeah, as you say, when you show us some examples of how that personal work translates, then it
yeah. Cool.
Easy to kind of visualize it. So I'll shut up and let you crack on.
So making pictures. Commercial and editorial is how they make their money. They're not always the most fun. Editorial tends to be a lot more creative, doesn't pay very well, but it tends to happen a lot. So this is Elliot Wilcox. He just shot this for Notion magazine. He shoots for them a few times a month. So those small editorial jobs are just a little constant flow of pocket money for him that means he can keep producing the personal stuff. So yeah, that said, it's some editorial. So yeah, editorial tends to give you a little bit more creative freedom. It doesn't tend to pay that much. This is something Alexander Coggin did for the Financial Times, with these really, you should check it out, it's hilarious, but it's this really rich family all smoking cigars together. This is something the Masons did for Teen Vogue. They're a couple, the Masons, and they shoot together. So all of our photographers will do still and moving as well, and it's kind of something that we are pushing, because most ad agencies or any commissioners tend to come and say, we want this many stills and we want this footage moving for social media, and if you can't do any moving, it tends to get in a bit of a pickle. But that is something that takes time and you can work on, so I don't want to panic anyone now thinking, I don't know how to do moving. It's fine, you'll grow into that, but it's definitely something that is a goal for photographers to get to over time.
Thank you. I'm just going to butt in rudely,
yes.
Bella, and say,
yeah, no, please, butt away.
that I've been saying that for years, and it's great to hear it kind of backed up by somebody in the industry, because when we talk about the course, when I'm interview days, I'm saying that we do the moving image element of the course, because if you are commissioned as a stills photographer, very often you're commissioned to produce moving image content too, and so you kind of need to know what you're doing. Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. But also, you know, when, as I said, we always hold their hands going through everything. So if some of our photographers are really new to moving, so they've been putting a lot of their putting their time and in their personal work into moving image, and it might be a really small clip, or it might be a whole feature film. It just depends, but they also collaborate. You're not alone when making work. All photographers will work with their assistants, or they'll work with makeup artists or set designers, or there's plenty of other roles and people in the photography industry outside of a photographer that you work with to make beautiful work. So the Masons couldn't have shot this, for example, without all their assistants. I think they have 3. The stylist, the hair and makeup person, so that already brings the team to probably like 7 or 8 people before it's even, and that's just making this image. So it's all about teamwork, it's all about collaboration. And if there was some moving that you needed to do and you were new to it, your agents will set you up with brilliant people that can advise. So you're never alone. This is something for Wonderland magazine, for one of our newest signings, Tai. We found her through Palm Photo. So submit your work to Palm, because that's how we signed her, through that. And we're always looking for new artists, and we have a big old spreadsheet with artists all over globally that that we like, and some of my uni friends are on there, slowly trying to push them to the front. But yeah, we kind of grow that by looking at awards. So always submit if you can. And I'm pretty sure Palm's free. Is it free? No? Yeah. Anyway, doesn't matter. So we found her then, and this is some through that, and this is some editorial work she actually did at home with her sister, I think, because all through lockdown. This is one of our biggest photographers, Paul Calver, shoot he did for Timberland. So this is kind of an example of what I was saying earlier about, high production, big sets for something that looks quite small. There's a lot went into shooting this. Loads of people, well, it couldn't be loads of people because it was COVID restrictions, but loads of people via Zoom. So it's something we've been doing recently. We've had creatives and art directors and brand, people on Zoom. And we've been live streaming the shoot through Zoom, so they can say if they like imagery or not, which makes things a bit complicated and not that streamlined. But this is one of those where there's lots and lots and lots of people involved to make it. You don't initially think that it would take a lot of people. This is Spencer Murphy. I'm assuming some of you know his work. He's fab. He did this for MS. They did a campaign on 30 under 30, so 30 people with MS who are under 30. Sometimes, so we have a really broad range of photographers. A few years ago, a lot of our photographers are very heavy on sport, and now we've kind of really opened that up. But it makes the work really interesting because as an agent, you're constantly working on something completely different from one minute to the other, one afternoon to the next morning. It's just all, you're all over the place, which is really nice. And there are some agencies that do only fashion or only sport or whatever, but that's what drew me to making pictures, was the variety. So I think this is Marcus Rashford. Is it Marcus Rashford? I'm not a football person, but I think he's like the most richest footballer. Well, not the richest, some crazy thing like that.
No, so he's the most popular footballer because of the school meals thing.
Right. The most marketable, that's it, or something like that.
Okay, all right. We'll go with most marketable rather than popular.
Use right lingo, please. So this is something we did for Adidas football, and we shot a lot of the Manchester United team. I think it was in a footballer's garage. So this is all through COVID. Sometimes we do really cheesy stuff like this, but they pay and they shoot it because then they get lots of money, and that means they can spend time on their personal work. So this is Dan 40 for the new Taskmaster show with Channel 4. This is also Dan 40 in his home with his family, through right at the beginning of lockdown, and he shot this with his family in his garden. And I think one thing that lockdown has really encouraged our photographers is to be creative. And they have they're lucky enough that they can still shoot because it's their work, but they've had very limited resources, and we haven't been able to have their assistants on set and get them all the equipment that they need. And they've definitely started being more creative, which I can imagine is similar for you guys. He did this Virgin Media campaign, which is meant to be kind of like dating through the screen. But so these big kind of campaigns, they can be really naff. But the point is, we won't show these to clients unless they specifically say, can we see how they shoot ad stuff? This will just be so they can have nice lump sum of money in their pocket, and then they can go off and do the fun things that they like to do. Personal work. So this is Spencer, the person that did the MS shoot. So you can see his style and how that really easily translates to. He does a lot of charity stuff, a lot of work for National Theatre and people like that. This is a gym in the Hackney Marshes that people made out of logs. Paul Calver, this is the same man that did the Timberland jumping person. These are his beautiful kids at home. He just started shooting kind of more reportage work one day, just with his family, because he couldn't go and shoot athletes and have these kind of big production things, so he started just shooting his kids, and now he makes really beautiful reportage. He also gives his kids the camera sometimes, which I just love. Kids photography, I think more children should shoot ads because they have such a great eye, and they're just completely untouched. Anyway, I'm blabbering. This is Marcus Smith. He is one of our American photographers based over in Chicago. This is a shoot he did with a dancer on FaceTime. I know lots of people kind of cottoned onto that through lockdown because of limited resources, but I just think it was a really clever thing. And this has been a really tricky year, obviously, for everybody, but trying to be positive, it's certainly made people think out the box, and people wouldn't be shooting on FaceTime if this hadn't happened. So it's him. Neil Bedford, he went round and photographed all the rainbows and helped the heroes and saved the NHS around his local area up north. And this is Tai, the lady that I found in Palm. She did this Goodbye 2020. So she shoots a lot for beauty. She's still a life photographer, so she's a lot in the beauty and kind of tech world. But we're her first agent. She's super, super young. Never been rep before, never worked commercially, only really a few editorial bits here and there, but she's just so driven. She's the first email I get in the morning at 7:30 with a new list of contacts, a new list of clients, things she wants to do, work she wants to produce. And it's just a constant back and forth of how can we keep the balls moving in a really stagnant time. And it's dialogue, it's conversation, it's networking, it's thinking, what can I do in a few months' time when I'm allowed out, or what projects can I start manifesting and thinking of and planning, or what set designer can I start having dialogue with about maybe working together in the future. And we're trying really hard to keep the balls rolling whilst they can't shoot. She's lucky she does have a studio here in Hackney, but she has only just got that. So before, everything was shot at home and in her bedroom and things like that.
Bella, can I ask a question?
Yes. Hi.
Hi. No, I was just sort of hearing you talk about the dialogue and everything. Do you think that's something you look for almost just as much? Obviously, that initial looking for people is going to be visual based, but that sort of being able to talk about their work and be infused, is that something that you think is just as important when you're looking to sort of represent someone?
So sorry, I didn't get the beginning. Was it about them talking about their work?
Yeah, just sort of as just as important as the visuals. And is that something you look for to represent someone, if they can talk the talk, as it were?
Personality is the main thing, really. Obviously the work, but personality. Nice people want to work with nice people. And if you can inspire people, which most creatives can, then you're going to do really well. And Tai, for example, the lady I was just showing you with the lipstick, she's never worked on any commercials. She's really new to the industry. You know, she hasn't come with us with loads of experience, but she's just really lovely and really passionate about her craft. And we just think that's the person you want to work with, someone that just goes, I'm new here and I'm going to work hard and we're going to do this together and grow. And I think, yes, in short, you need to be able to talk about your work, but it's, you know, you don't need to, that's something I always found really hard at uni, was explaining why I'd done something. You know, no one's going to be asking, you know, loads of backstory, but people just want to know, you know, why you shot self-portraits and, you know, why you do what you do. But it's really just a personality thing. And actually, so often, and especially as an agent as well, so often I'll go to a meeting with a book, I'll spend an hour talking about someone's dog and come away with a brief, because people are just like, oh, you know what, yeah, the work's cool, I really like you, so we'll work together. And for an agent's point of view with signing a photographer, it's personality for sure. Every agency is very different, but that's why I love making pictures, is they're just normal humans and they just like other happy and positive, not necessarily positive, but inspirational people. And if we know you love your craft, then yeah. Sorry, I hope that makes sense.
No, that's brilliant. That's hopeful. Thank you.
It's all right. My final slide was just this. Ta-da! Stay in touch, stay positive, active, and keep smiling. Got to smile through everything. But that was my final kind of slide there.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, and good luck, everyone. And just, yeah, remember, this will all be over soon. Just keep smiling.
Thank you.
Thank you.